Welcome back to Cliffhangers and Cocktails podcast with my co-host,
Cecil.
and me, Shéa McLeod, both USA Today best-selling authors of paranormal women's fiction, among other things. This podcast is brought to you, as always, by the Caftan Coven.
So welcome to this mini pod where we will be discussing a single topic related to the craft, whether it be a craft cocktail, witchcraft, or writing craft. Today we're going to be talking about writing craft, and it's the first of a two-part series on writing through hard times. And I want to provide a bit of a content note about what's coming up. We're going to be talking about mental illness, depression, chronic fatigue, chronic illness, and a lot of other things that can make life hard from day to day. And how we've experienced it and ways to write through it, write around it, and deal with it when you are a writer. So if you're not in a space where that's going to be a good topic for you at this point, just no worries. Like, bookmark this, come back when you're ready, or go listen to something that we've done that's a little bit more chipper. Because this one is not going to be one of our more chipper podcasts, but I think it's really important.
Yes, I do too. It's a little bit of a heavy topic, but we're going to try and offer some not just some advice, but some encouragement, some hope. So
a heavy dose of you're not alone.
Yeah, a very heavy dose of you're not alone. So hopefully, through this, you'll get some inspiration, some feel like someone understands you, maybe get some ideas to help you get through it.
And make sure you check our show notes for resources.
Yes.
We'll be putting in mental health hotline numbers. If you are really struggling and you need someone to talk to, we'll have resources down in the show notes. So
Absolutely.
feel free to check that, or else do check it. Share it with yourself. Share it with other people. Be safe.
Yes. So today's topic is writing through the shadows, writing when life is hard. And I think a lot of people can relate to that right now. It's kind of a crazy time. So our first part of this is called permission, compassion, and carrying on, whether you're calm or not.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, because I mean, there's times that writing is fun and easy.
Yeah.
And
there's times
when it's not.
It's not at all. Yeah. So, it's like sometimes I love those times when I'm, the creativity's flowing, the ideas, or I'm feeling all jazzed. I'm I'm writing. I get in that flow state where time just goes by. Time has no meaning. Everything, it just flows. It just pours out. And it's just this magical feeling. And I think any writer who's been doing this for any length of time has at one point gotten to that state and knows what I'm talking about. But even more so, you're probably familiar with, the times that you feel like you're trying to drag yourself through, wet cement. You're just everything just feels hard emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, and everything just is difficult, So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want to write, but everything is so hard right now, well, then this is definitely the Minisode for you, because we have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
still trying to paddle out. That's me paddling out.
Yes. I went through a good year or more of it being kind of a slog. Actually, it was more than that, I think, but we'll talk about that later. So we're going to talk about writing through the shadows, writing through the dark times, not by force, not by pretending everything's fine and Pollyanning shit all over the place, but by practicing self-compassion, adjusting expectations, and staying connected to your craft in a way that's sustainable and not soul sucking.
Yeah. And there is no room in this process for self-recrimination, for guilt tripping yourself,
No.
for the I should be's.
Right.
Just take that phrase right out of your mouth right now.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to should everything, and
Yeah.
that doesn't help.
I should be writing. I should be marketing. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Guilt tripping yourself is literally going to literally steals your energy. It steals your joy, and it gets you trapped in this circle of negative energy that just makes it even more and more and more impossible to write, to get out of it, to actually write. So
You're not lazy.
no,
You're
no.
not lacking in discipline. Like, sometimes things are hard.
Yeah. And sometimes in some situations, for some folks, just getting out of bed in the morning is an absolute triumph. And so, yeah, just because you're not doing anything that looks like writing from the outside doesn't mean that you're not doing something important that leads to writing or that's involved with writing. So if someone is saying you're lazy, you're not writing enough, whatever, you don't need that
You have
negativity
my
in your
personal
life.
permission to take them in the shits. Also, all of that bullpucky, I'm feeling folksy, about you're not a writer if you don't write every day is really just that. It's bullpucky.
There are people who just write every day and that's their discipline. And then and by discipline, I don't mean self-discipline. I mean discipline as in this is a ritual.
Yes.
Maybe ritual is a better word. Their ritual for writing is to write every day. They write either a certain number of pages, a certain number of words, a certain number of beats. That's their ritual. Other folks have a ritual of they don't write for a week, then they write for 2 days, a whole bunch. And then they don't write for another week and then, or whatever. So just because your ritual for writing doesn't look like someone else's does not mean that you are wrong. Maybe, maybe, because there's other parts of being a writer besides just the writing. There's the planning, there's the plotting, there's the noodling, there. And so, like,
Shéa loves a noodle.
I do love a noodle. We're going to talk about that too. But the truth is that, though, I will say, is that waiting for things to get easier often means never coming back to the page at all. So while I'm not saying you must write every day to be a writer, that is absolutely 100% patently not true.
Not true.
But if you're sitting there saying, I'm just going to wait until I'm inspired, or I'm going to wait until things get easier, and you're waiting for that, that is not the best way to actually I'm trying to, I don't know, no judgment here, but it's like the longer you put it off and you wait for things to be just perfect, nothing ever is going to be just perfect.
Listen, I didn't know we were going to be calling me out on all stuff I've been procrastinating. And now I'm upset. That was not in the script. I think that a lot of times writer's block can mean different things to different people. Like, it can mean, like, there's just something stuck. I know it's almost through. And if I just go away and do something else for a while, it'll come to me and I can go back and write. And sometimes it means there is a boulder damming up this stream.
Right.
And I need to find a way to dislodge the boulder.
Right.
And once I can figure that out, whether it's through some kind of TNT application or pouring around it. And then sometimes you just need to park yourself on top of that big rock and take a minute.
Yeah.
So part of this process is learning how to discern what kind of block you're having.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta wait it out.
I've been doing this long enough at this point that I do know when, and it happens a lot, obviously, in the soggy middle that we like to talk about of a book, when I realize that I've gotten to a part where I'm not sure what happens next. Like and I realize 9 times out of 10, or maybe even 19 times out of 20, like a lot of times for me personally, many times, I need to noodle more. I need to let it sort of simmer in the back of my brain. And so sometimes I need to talk to someone and talk it out. Sometimes I just need to think about it. Sometimes I just need to watch many episodes of Murder, She Wrote. So, but, you know, sometimes it's more than that. So like, for instance, sometimes, life can be overwhelming. Grief because of loss, illness, burnout, global freaking chaos, effing perimenopause. Thank you very much. And your creativity sort of shrinks, and that's kind of normal because you're trying to preserve your energy. But the mistake is assuming that you should be able to perform at your peak during those moments. And so you either get frustrated and give up because you're not performing at your peak, or you get frustrated and you keep pushing yourself and you burn out. And I
think we've both probably done both.
I think we both have, because I for sure made that mistake. And it's something that I've struggled with the last few years. The first time was when I started dealing with chronic pain, and I just could no longer. I kept trying to and hoping I get back to quote unquote normal. What is normal? We don't know, but how I used to be. And so I went from being very prolific to, being able to do less and less and less and less, increasingly less. And the more that I was frustrated and irritated, the less I actually was productive. And it wasn't until I accepted that this is my situation right now, and I need to learn to work with it rather than against it, that I finally began putting together tools to help me get back a lot of my productivity. It just had to be in a different way than before. And the second time it happened, well, okay, this is not the second time. It is the second big time. Let's put it that way. Was when, I've been in perimenopause for a few years now, but all of a sudden I started getting brain fog, like so bad. I was forgetting every other word. I would look at the page and type, and it was like trying to push through molasses. And I just I felt like everything I felt stupid. I felt like everything I wrote was stupid. And it was just so frustrating. Fortunately for me, there was a solution, and that was going to my gynecologist and talking to her about it, and her prescribing something that helped. And it was like, oh, the clouds opened and the angels sang, and suddenly I got my mind back. But that doesn't happen for everyone. Oh yeah.
So I just want to be very clear that if you're experiencing something new, alarming, physical, mental, whatever, make sure you talk to a healthcare professional and not
Absolutely.
just podcast witches.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy to do that. I minimum consulting fee. I don't live in the States. So I can give you all sorts of, I can't prescribe, unfortunately.
Damn.
But talk to your doctor, especially if you have new or alarming symptoms of anything.
Absolutely.
Even if you think
Yes.
it's nothing, and if you're a woman, especially
Yes.
a fat woman, a woman of color, if you're Black, Indigenous, if
Mhm.
you are queer, if you are anything but your shelf typical person,
Yeah.
typical meaning what the average is supposed to be. I'm using a lot of air quotes, people who can't see. Make sure that you go to your doctor and
Mm.
make them hear you.
Yes. And I would
Don't let people
recommend,
gaslight you into saying
yeah,
that you're not having symptoms.
yes. And I would recommend if you are a person with a uterus and ovaries and you are experiencing what you think might be perimenopausal symptoms or menopausal symptoms, regardless of your age, because it can happen in your 30s. I would find a gynecologist that is actually specializes in menopause.
I know healthcare is weird to
A
navigate,
nightmare.
especially in the United States, where it can be very expensive and not everyone has the same resources.
Right.
And listen, I think that if you're going to do Dr. Google, that's fine. A lot of people don't get diagnosed until they can go in with a list of something, but don't
Mhm.
hang your hat on Dr. Google either.
Where
That
were
was
we?
a side journey. Okay, now is not the time for perfection. It's
Yes.
the time for gentleness.
Yes. Especially with yourself. Like, we're just the hardest on ourselves. We can be hard on other people, but we're the worst when it comes to ourselves. So, here are some tips for writing through the hard times. And number one is to prioritize self-care. I think the first thing you need more than discipline, quote unquote, more than motivation, more than ritual, more than a swift kick up the backside is permission. Permission to be tired, permission to write slower, permission to write less or different or just write real bad. you know? And if you can't give yourself permission, I myself am giving you permission. You're welcome.
I will write you a prescription for permission since I
Okay,
have
excellent.
established myself as a medical expert on this podcast.
um, but rest, I mean, it's back to that not lazy thing. Rest is not about quitting. It's not about being lazy. Rest is a necessary part of creativity, something that I think a lot of people have forgotten, like with indie publishing and this rush to put things out and all the changes in the marketplace. You can't create if you're exhausted. You need rest. And so if you need rest, take it. Rest is as important to writing as sitting at the computer typing is.
I would argue that it's even more important because rest is how our body and brain heals themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hurt yourself, if you get injured, if like you break your foot, let's just say as a wild example, you're gonna find that you are a lot more tired.
Mm.
Not just because your body needs energy to heal.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
if you have a chronic illness, if you have,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's physical or mental, your body needs extra energy
Yeah.
to stay base level. Rest is so important.
Yeah. And they've actually, again, if you're a person with a uterus who is in menopause or perimenopause, they've actually done research that shows that we actually need a nap time. Like literally, like we need more sleep than someone who is not in those, who either does not have a uterus or who is not in period. Well, I would say who never had a uterus. I should be clear. Or who was, who was younger or whatnot. Um, we actually need that rest because our bodies are like freaking the fuck out, basically. And there's a lot of craziness going on.
I wonder if postmenopausal folks need the extra. I'm postmenopausal. I'm like all the way out on the other end,
Yeah.
and it's in my rear view.
Mhm.
But I don't know if
Well,
I have to find out now if I'm supposed to be
yeah.
napping more.
So sometimes the bravest choice you can make is to step back briefly without shame. No shame. Knowing the desire to write will return because it does every time. When you're in it, it sometimes feels like it won't, but it does. It always does. And the kinder you are to yourself, the more you allow yourself your downtime to rest, and the less you struggle against a biological and spiritual necessity, the quicker you heal and you can get back. I
Yes.
mean, I struggled for so long with fighting against just this thing, this monster pain thing, and trying to force myself. There's no amount of rest per se that's going to make this go away. But resting every day means I feel better. I can deal with the pain better. And now that I found this new way of working, I feel better emotionally because I'm doing what I want to do, not because my productivity is my self-worth is dependent on productivity, but because that's what I want for myself.
I'm just, you wouldn't go to your friend who has like badly sprained their ankle or
Mhm.
something, and they're like, I don't know why I'm not getting better. I'm like, walking 5 miles a day, like that's
You would be
healthy.
like,
You're supposed
lady,
to walk 5 miles a day. I need my 10,000 steps. Like, I don't know why my ankle isn't getting better. And you wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, no, that sounds normal.
yeah, no, you would be like,
Feel that.
stop being a dipshit and sit down and ice your foot.
Right?
Yep.
And it's like, because you can't heal something by using it
Right.
past the point of pain. And
Yeah.
it's just the same. Like, if you're, and I think for more invisible ailments like mental health or chronic pain stuff that you can't
Hmm.
see, that you don't need crutches for, it's harder to give yourself that grace to rest
Yeah.
and to be like, oh, well, this isn't like a sprained ankle. Oh my
Yeah.
God, no.
And it's
But
especially hard because like people around you, not people who are true friends, I think, but other people around you, even family members sometimes are like, I don't understand what your problem is. Just go do this thing. It's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
But for you, it is that big of a deal because, every little step requires a spoon of energy or whatever. And they just don't get that even just getting up, getting dressed, leaving the house, and sitting on a couch takes effort. Um, and that constant in your face like nagging and diminishing you and your reality makes you feel like okay, well, it did for me. It made me feel like a crazy person. And I don't mean in an mentally ill way. I mean in a gaslighting way. Like, is this really just all in my head and I'm just being ridiculous? And that's even harder, I think, to treat yourself with compassion when the world's not doing it. So it's even more important that you do. And I think I can speak for Amy and myself both when I say, we give you permission.
100%.
Mm.
Take care of yourself. That put your own oxygen mask on first is
Mm-hmm.
something people say for a reason. You
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that means before you can take care of your writing. You
Absolutely.
have to take care of the temple where the words form.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I
Otherwise,
like
you'll
that.
just have like bad words, I
The
guess. Not like
temple,
swear words, those are good
no,
words.
the temple where the words fall. Yes, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit too later on about bad words. So number two, adjust expectations, but don't give up. So, the most powerful tools for writing through difficulty is to have a laughably small goal. Like just something, not a chapter. Don't worry about finishing a chapter. Not even 1,000 words. Maybe you set your timer for 10 minutes and just type something for 10 minutes, or just one paragraph, or 100 words, or a sentence, just,
Something that doesn't feel like it should be a real goal.
yeah. But when you're in this place, that's maybe all you can do. And sometimes when you start that, you can find you can go on a little bit more. For a long time, I could only sit at the computer for like an hour, hour and a half. And so sometimes all I'd get out was 200 words in a day. And as a person who used to consistently get out 2,000 words or more a day, that was like laughably small for me. But even sometimes that was hard. But I did it because that's 200 more words that I got that I didn't have before.
Saying I have to write 2,000 words.
Yeah.
And then being overwhelmed by the idea of it, by the size of that goal.
Right.
And then not doing it.
Right. Only getting 200
you don't
words.
have 200 words.
And if you're like, but if I only do 200, I'll never get this book done. Well, you will. It'll just take longer. But it's better for it to take longer than to never get written.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The words that you've written down are so much better than the ones that just still are floating out there in the ether.
Yeah.
And it's hard to not compare yourself to a version of you in the past when things were better or ideal. And that's something I worked through a lot with my therapist, is because 15 years ago, I was a long distance runner. I was a triathlete. I was working 40 hours a week. I was writing. I had a garden. I did all this DIY stuff. I was really obnoxious, and I was always happy. Because I was exercising, and then when I wasn't exercising, I was in the garden. And I was getting 7 hours of sleep a night and getting up at 4:30 to go to the gym. And I was always happy about it. And God, I hate past me. But also, I love past me.
Yeah.
But 15 years ago, I didn't have a kid. I didn't have a person that I lived with that I wanted to spend a lot of time with, I do now. And I was 15 years younger. I mean,
yeah.
I had a lot of different things mentally and physically going on in my life. And it's so hard for me to be like, I could go out and run a mile and not be like, that's not a real run now, because it's not a real run unless it's 3 miles minimum. You have to adjust. You can't compare yourself to when you were at your best. Right. Because like we said earlier, like Shéa said earlier, you can't always be 100%.
Right. But it is necessary to build habits, a writing habit or ritual, if you prefer, that can survive these low energy days. Professional writers, people that make their living from writing, I'm not going to say none of them do this, but I would say it's unlikely. They don't wait for this lightning of inspiration to strike them before they sit down and write. They have a practice, and they follow their practice. And whether that's writing every day or writing so many days a week or whatnot, writing is a practice. It's not a mood. Creating a story, getting the idea, that's a mood. But actually the writing itself, I used to wait until I felt that this was long before I became a full-time writer. It was I'd wait for this inspiration to strike. And if it didn't strike, I didn't write. And then I figured out later, as I began to actually really do this seriously, that if I sat down and wrote, that's when the inspiration usually struck. Sometimes it didn't, and I just have normal words, and then sometimes I'd have flow words. But if I didn't follow that practice, it just never happened. As for the first drafts, and that comes down to the ugly writing, the bad words. If you listened to our mini pod about that, about the draft,
the links in the show notes if you missed it or want to go back.
Yes, that first draft is kind of supposed to be a hot mess. it's supposed to be ugly and embarrassing and down and dirty, and the words are bad. And your job is to just get the words down, and you can edit them all later. That's when you can go through and make them all pretty.
And words that don't exist.
Developing a practice that allows for rest, that allows for down times, that allows for the good times you can do more, and then going through rough times, because it's rough in the world right now, and a lot of people, especially writers and other creatives, are getting being affected by that. But writing is also an escape. So if you can keep up a consistent, persistent practice ritual, it can be healthy for you as well. A way to get out there and work through some things. And we're going to talk about that more in part 2. But number 3 is put one foot in front of the other. So I've heard like this from writers. They like, and I've done this myself. It's like, you have to work on this project. This one project is the one you have to work on. But sometimes it's like you just can't even face that anymore. Like, I can't do this. So you know what? It's okay that if you can't work on that project, but keep your writing time, your practice time, whatever that is. If you can, use that time to journal or brainstorm or write notes. Daydream about a character. See if you can get a little bit more connected with them. Maybe work on a short story. If you've got a young kid, write out a short story, a little silly short story for them. Or a short story for yourself. That's how you kind of keep the door open and keep that creativity flowing and keep that practice, that ritual going. Even if you're not physically writing the specific project that you are supposed to, I'm using the air quotes.
Back to that, don't say should.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I usually have 2 or 3, sometimes 4 different projects going on. I usually have 1 or 2 that I'm focused on, and then I have another 1 or 2 that are kind of, I work on whenever, I just need a break from one of my other projects. Or, sometimes I'm just not feeling that project, the main project today. So I'll go work on another one. Because when you get out of the habit of doing that, it's harder to get back in. And so I think even like when you're taking time away from writing, having a practice that keeps you in that space, keeps that space open, is really beneficial. Like, there was a time when I just journaled. I spent time journaling every day because I needed to get my thoughts out. I needed to get my emotions out. I needed to express myself, and that allowed me to do that. And so even though maybe I wasn't working on the project I was quote unquote supposed to, it allowed me to sort of get all that stuff out and also keep that space open. So when I did go back to writing the project, I didn't feel like I was trying to rework those muscles, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Muscle memory is important, and keeping everything, even if you're not running 3 miles, if you're walking 1
Right.
or walking a half a mile, you're still keeping that space and keeping that movement. And if you let that space, that time that you've set aside for it, if you let it go because right now it's just too hard to write, then later when you're ready to come back to it, you're going to have to rearrange your life again because stuff has snuck in there.
Right.
And that makes it harder to get back. Don't put obstacles in your own way. Make sure that even if you're not using that time for writing, don't let it go to anything else.
Right. Maybe you write bad poetry or terrible song lyrics, or maybe good song lyrics. Keeping that space open. Yeah, it's so important because it's an important part of your life and you want to keep that ready, just like walking or running or anything
That's like the
else.
only other thing I've ever done, like
Yeah.
a lot of. That's like my other discipline that I know a lot about.
One thing I did was I would do art. Like and I would do like mixed media sort of
Mhm.
collagey type art. It was bad, trust me, it was not any good. I'm not good at it, but it doesn't matter. I enjoyed
I
it.
don't think we need to say that we're not good at stuff.
Well, you know what? You're right, because art is subjective, isn't it?
It is subjective.
And if you're expressing yourself in an artistic way, there is no good or bad. There's just,
Correct.
it's just art. So I did art,
Yeah.
and not only did that hold that space of creativity, it allowed me to express creativity in a totally different way that was kind of relaxing and fun. And it actually helped bring creativity back um, for me and like expand it. So that was, yeah, whatever you can do. And number 4, and this maybe should be number 1. I don't know. This is such an important thing. Reconnect with your why. Like, why do you do this? Why do you write? What do you want your writing? What is important to you that your writing is about? Because your writing matters. It matters whether anyone reads it or not. If it only helps you to survive this season, it matters. Because writers bear witness to what's going on in the world. And we offer comfort, we offer relief, we offer escape to our readers.
I have done a lot of research on writing with mental illness, writing about mental illness, and I have reams of notes and resources and all of these things. One of my current series that I have, the main character battles addiction and mental health. And so I did a lot of research before that. And I don't know where my notes are, which is awesome. So I didn't bother. I'm like, no, I got it all. I got it all. And so instead what I did is made sure that my tea that I'm drinking is perfect for this subject, magically and spiritually.
Excellent.
Chemically, I guess. But so what I'm going to say is a very Amy thing right now, and I'm going to talk with my heart.
And that is the best way for Amy to talk, I think, because Amy does everything with her heart.
I mean, I did do research.
Well, I mean, you did research, but you feel it with your heart. So.
I do. Well, and one of the things I've always been pretty open about is I have bipolar 2, and so and with that, a lot of people end up with their your co-diagnoses.
Oh yeah.
I also have anxiety and PTSD related stuff, and I have gone through periods where my mental health has been managed exceptionally well, and periods when it's not been. And 2025, end of 2024 through mid 2025 was one of those periods when it was not well managed. And I know Shéa knew me then because it was last year, you guys.
Yeah. Well, you still lived here in Portland, so.
I did. And so it was a huge challenge, and there were a lot of adjustments that I had to make to the expectations I had around myself. I published my last book in June of 2024. I haven't published since, although I have a pre-order up for a book that will be published. But one of the things that I had to do to take care of myself was to take those steps back. Because every time I was like, okay, no, I'm feeling a little bit better. Let's dive back in. Let's dive back into writing 40,000 words a month, which is what I was typically doing while parenting and working full time.
Jeez.
And it worked great until it didn't.
Until it didn't. Yeah.
And I pushed too hard to get there, and I just finally I burned out.
Mhm.
had a little bit of mental health breakdown. And at that point, what I needed to do was to take those steps back
Mhm.
and concentrate on maintaining connections with my friends,
Mhm.
and with my child, and with my day job that was paying me at that point. I had to pick priorities,
Yeah.
and that's
And we did the
where
podcast. We did
we
the
did the
podcast
podcast.
through that. Yeah. So that was kind of your maybe holding space for the writing
Yeah,
because we were doing
yeah.
that podcast. And
And it was hard. And
mhm.
I mean, some people that I'm very close to know how hard it was at
Mhm.
points during that time. It was not ideal. It was not
Mm.
ideal.
Mm.
Um, and I'm here, I'm in Portugal, I'm writing again.
Mhm.
Not, and the thing that I am struggling with, and this is something that we've talked about, is I am still not writing 40,000 words a month.
And
And
it's
to
okay.
me,
I give you
it's
permission not to.
ridiculous. Well,
But I know I've been there. I was there. I mean, for myself for a different reason. But yeah, you beat yourself up because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. For you,
and
it's
I don't have a
40,000.
day job anymore. Like, I should have all this extra time. I should have it. I should be filling it. I
Mm.
should have more time for my creative endeavors. I should be running marathons too, because now I have more time to run. But for me, the decision to step back and
Hmm.
to contact my editor and be like, listen, I don't know when I'm gonna be doing this. Take me off your calendar indefinitely. I will reach out when I'm ready.
Hmm.
And apologies. And they're like, it's cool, you already paid us. We don't care. Um, that's not what they said. They were very kind, actually. My editor is great. I really like working with her. And she doesn't let me talk down about myself.
You need to give yourself some grace. The shoulds,
I can sit there and be like, don't say should to yourself. And
but
then I'm
it's
like, well, I
hard.
still can't do what I should be able to do at this point.
Yeah,
But I am writing again. And
but you
that
are. And that's great.
and getting into a schedule has been tough
Yeah.
because the way that I had time carved out before was very different.
Uh-huh.
And trying to figure out how it's going to fit when I live in a small apartment with two other full size human beings, and three full size cats. Um, like how does that work? My sleep schedule is very different now than it
Uh-huh.
was before. Having that feeling of like I'm at the place I thought I would be and it's not working
Mm.
means that there are days that I'm just like, well, guess I'm done. I guess I'm a kept woman now. When I couldn't write,
Yeah.
when I needed to take those steps back because I was
Mhm.
so burned out. And for everybody has a different pace at which they write
Mhm.
and a different amount of books that they publish a year.
Mhm.
But between February 2017 and beginning of June 2024, I published over 30 books.
So
So that's a
seven,
lot.
that's 7-ish years, and you did 30 books. So that's
So
like,
at least five a year,
yeah, four,
I
four,
think.
4.5. I don't know.
4 to
Yeah.
5 a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was including one in 2020. So, like, so it was a fairly ambitious schedule for somebody
Yeah.
who was parenting a young child
Yeah.
and was working full time.
Mhm.
Um, so I have to look at that time and be like, just because I could do that then doesn't mean that should even be my base level now. Just because I have different life circumstances.
Because part of
Um,
moving to Portugal was to have a better lifestyle, a more
yes.
balanced lifestyle.
Yes.
So, even though you
And
don't
filling in all my stuff
have,
with guilt and should
yeah,
haves and writing isn't gonna, I don't need to replace the stress of what I had with a
mhm,
new level of stress. Although
right.
that is kind of like my instinct on how I want to
Same.
live, apparently, is like, oh,
Yeah.
well, if I don't have stress levels to here, what am I even doing with my life? So the last few months have really just been kind of me figuring out what my flow is like. Like,
Yeah.
when am I awake? When am I feeling productive or creative? Or what can I do? Or how
Mhm.
can I stop falling down and hurting my back?
That would be
Um,
great.
but that year that I took off, basically,
Uh-huh.
of writing, because I
Yeah.
barely wrote anything for a year,
Yeah.
what I did was read. And I
Mm.
read like a madwoman, because I was a madwoman. Um, I I read something like 400 books in the year that I didn't
Oh my
write.
gosh. Wow.
Um, and it was amazing. And what that did for me, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more in part two, but it
Hmm.
just kept the words of creativity in my brain.
Yeah.
And I read in my genre. I
Hmm.
read in other related genres. I read self-help. I read biographies. I read nonfiction.
Hmm.
I just read. I always had two books
Yeah.
that I had going on at any given point in time. And that's what I did. And that is how I stayed connected to writing
Hmm.
and to words,
Hmm.
and how I called it market research when I was reading in genre.
Yeah.
So I was working. I was working. I wasn't not writing. I was
Right.
writing.
That's
And then every
still
time
part of writing. Yeah.
I would like, I wrote words. Woo! Finish the chapter. Woo!
Yeah. And I have every confidence that you'll find a new flow for yourself. Yeah. And you have a better life balance and you're able to get some words done, but you're also able to do your runs or go out in the evenings or, whatever it is that you do in your new life. You aren't alone. If you're struggling, if you have struggled, if you continue to struggle, you're not alone. We've been there. Different reasons, different, whatever. But, there's lived experience and we share that with you. And we know that you can get through this. We've gotten through this multiple
Mhm.
times in some cases. Um,
And if you need your name attached to this,
mm,
DM me on Insta, either through Cliffhangers and Cocktails or through my Aces All Rights handle, and I will give you permission and a very official prescription
mm, I love it. Official prescriptions from
from Dr. Amy.
Dr. Amy.
James gets so uncomfortable with my willingness to call myself a doctor.
Yeah, just a disclaimer, we're not medical people.
I got accepted into a pre-med program when I was going to university, so that's almost the same. I worked in a hospital for eight
Oh,
years.
well, I mean,
Was
I
a
did work
nurse.
in a chiropractor's office, and I was a licensed massage therapist. But I am,
See,
but
we are medical
we
professionals.
do have some medical-ish background. We have some background, but I would say please consult a licensed medical professional in your area for real medical professional advice.
Yeah,
But Amy can still give you a permission slip. So we I did come up with a cocktail for this, as that's one of the things we do. It's called a Creative Shadows Martini. And the energy is for focus, creativity, renewal, and prosperity. It's a really simple recipe. It's 1 ounce of coffee liqueur, quarter ounce of amaretto, 1 ounce of vodka. You just throw everything in a shaker with some ice, shake it, strain it into a glass, and you can garnish it with a little whipped cream. And today I actually made it into, you can kind of see what's left there, but I actually made it into a coffee drink. I just put those ingredients into about a half of a cup of strong coffee, and freaking delicious. um and we're going to talk a minute about a non alcoholic version, what you can do for that. But the coffee magical properties are awakening, makes sense, focus and energy and clarity, all makes sense because of their the caffeine. They were used in rituals for protection, intuition, and manifestation. It's believed to help with meditation, banishing negativity, attracting abundance, and enhancing creativity. And sometimes the grounds are used for cleansing or for divination, similar to reading like tea leaves. Almond, which is in the amaretto, prosperity, fertility, wisdom, love, luck, renewal, and protection. They're used in spells for abundance, gentle love, renewal, And the tree symbolizes watchfulness and spiritual awakening in some traditions like Judaism, Greek lore. And of course, the vodka is used as a neutral here. We talked about that in our base spirits thing. If you want to do just a easy coffee drink that has the same magical properties and no booze, you could do a almond milk latte with vanilla syrup. Same properties, same magic, no booze. And you can do that at home or, if you're at the coffee shop. But the biggest magic is when you make it yourself.
Yeah.
And
I'm drinking tea.
yes.
And we'll talk a little bit more about how I put my drink together for this in the second half of this, not the second half of this episode, but in part 2.
In part 2, yeah.
Minisode mini-series.
Because you did it with the intent of duplicating the magical energetic properties, right? But in a tea. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am looking forward to talking about that. But some final deep thoughts, remember Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy?
I do.
Saturday Night Live.
We are so young.
We are so young, yes. Riding through the shadows doesn't mean forcing yourself to shine or, be magical, whatever. It's about staying present, staying kind, staying connected.
I would say honoring yourself.
Yes.
First.
Yes, absolutely. I do love this staying connected because you were speaking about that when you talked about going through such a hard time with your mental health. And one of the things you focused on was staying connected to friends and loved ones, family. I think that connection is what gets you through the hard times. So what's one very small writing goal you could keep this week? Think about that. Food for thought.
I need to finish the whole book.
Small goal. What's a small goal?
I need to finish most of the book.
Small? If you are going through a difficult time and writing is a struggle, just think to yourself, what is a small writing goal I could keep this week? And maybe that's writing a journal entry. Maybe that's writing a sentence in your novel. Maybe it's just writing out some character information, like doing little character sketches or something. But in part 2, we're going to talk about changing tactics, channeling emotions, and using writing itself as a form of healing magic. And I'm really excited about that. So until then, be gentle with yourself. You are a writer. You're still a writer, no matter how dark it gets. You're still a writer.
Thank you so much for sticking with us through this.
Yes.
And look forward to talking more about this in part 2.
So check out our show notes for some mental health resources. Recipes are down there. Check out all our other links and be sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.